Please start.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Since you are all connected from different parts of the world, I hope I have catered to all the salutations, and I hope you all are doing well. So, my topic is digital journalism, navigating the new media landscape. So, it is an important topic for journalists today, especially in the world right now. Everything or mostly everything is now converting to digital platforms. So, whatever happen in the physical world is now converting it into digital journalism. And today's webinar itself is a great example of how digital platforms can help us in our day-to-day lives. So firstly, I would just like to say, please let me know if my voice is inaudible or hoarse at any point in time. I would not mind repeating again and again. So just a little bit about how the workshop is, how the webinar is going to progress. So I will tell you a little bit about me, followed by an overview about digital journalism. And I'll be focusing on what's new. So like I said, digital journalism is something very current. It's something that is evolving at the moment at a very, very fast rate. So I will be focusing on what is new in the scene at the moment. And I won't be divulging too much into, let's say, the evolution or too much into the historical aspects of the topic, but I will tell you about the new aspects of digital journalism. Then we'll talk about the good and the bad about each of these aspects, and then we will move on finally to the question round. So this doesn't mean that any point in time during your webinar, you cannot stop me and ask me. You can always ask me any doubts that you wish to ask in between. So a little bit about me. So I have done my post-graduation in mass communication and journalism, after which I have worked as a communication expert, content writer, as well as a news writer. And finally, I went into what I always wanted to do, that was teaching. So teaching for me has been very, very exciting. And today also in the workshop, what I would mostly want is for all of you to understand what I have come up with. So right now I'm pursuing my PhD, but side by side, I'm also contributing to online articles for Mahabahu as well as for other print as well as digital media platforms. Okay. So just a little bit about myself. And thank you, EESD, for inviting me. It's a great experience. It's a new experience. So I hope I can do justice and just move on. So the overview. So I put the picture of this book at the side that you can see, Converging Media, the 5th edition. It's a new introduction to mass communication. So anyone who is interested can actually have a look at this book. It's authored by Palvik and McIntosh. Both of them are very, very reputed authors, and they are professors as well. And you won't believe, but this book came up in 2017, and so far till 2023, it has undergone 7 editions. So this shows how fast the landscape is changing. There's always something new to add into digital journalism. I have included the 5th edition here because I'm taking the definition from this particular book only, but you can find the 7th edition as well. So now if you look into the right side of the slide, you can see there are certain words that I've highlighted. So digital journalism is the practice of using digital technologies. So can anyone tell me what exactly here I mean by digital technology? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of a digital technology?
Smartphones, AI, and all of these technologies that are evolving, like blockchain and cybersecurity, and all of these fields that are emerging right now.
Yes. Thank you. So yes, AI is a very, very good example of a digital technology that is coming up right now. So anything digital basically means that something that is made up of the computer binary language of 0 and 1, right? So we know that the computer works in the binary code of 0 and 1. So any technology that is built using that language is digital technology. And a very important thing to note is digital journalism, mostly what people assume is we write something, we put it up on our websites or in our social media platform, and it becomes digital journalism. Actually, no. So the entire process of journalism, where we are going out, we are conducting the research, we are recording the evidences, we are producing the content, and then finally publishing, the entire process has to happen digitally. So only then we can say that it is a evidence or it's an example of digital journalism. All right. So right from your research stage to your production stage and to your delivery stage, all these three stages must use digital technology. So like Divya said, there is AI. So AI can mostly help us in the research phase. It can also help us in the writing phase. So similarly, some of you who are multimedia students, you are here to learn about the production phase. You're expecting some software technology, some digital tools knowledge. So that all of that is coming within the production sector. And then finally, the delivery bit, where we are talking about how we deliver this digital platform in this digital journalistic pieces in different platforms, right? So like you can see the second paragraph, it says it encompasses a wide range of formats. So we are not simply sticking to one format. For instance, when we had radio journalism, we are only talking about audio. When we're talking about print journalism, we're only talking about text. But here in digital, all of them are converging. You can also see the name of the book, Converging Media. That's what they mean. So they are saying all different formats of different content are coming together in a single platform. So in the very same news article, you can have a video, you can have an audio element, you can have the textual element as well as interactive element. So and obviously we use internet. So a very big, I would say, it's both. It's kind of also what makes digital journalism challenging in cases of reporting from war zones, for instance, because it depends on internet very heavily. So it has a reliance on internet, it has a reliance on electricity, and finally we depend on our digital platforms to give the output, to reach different audiences and also to engage with the audiences. So like for instance, in print journalism, we put out the facts or we put out the news piece, but there is hardly any I would say aspect of engagement. So some of you can write letters to the editor, but that too goes through certain gatekeeping, certain selection. So ultimately there is a very low engagement as compared to digital platforms which have a lot of engagement. You can engage through likes, shares, retweets. You can yourself quote something and put up your own views. You can comment. So there are multiple ways of engaging. So is this basic definition, is it clear to everyone? Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Yeah. So now a little bit about what's new. So if you look into each of these, you can see that it's something that Divya has also mentioned. It's something that some of you students have already mentioned during your introduction, and some maybe not new, but some things that we haven't talked about yet. So we have AI. The very first logo that you see is that of Perplexity. Okay, so Perplexity AI is a website which is kind of a better version or a refined version of a search engine that we use normally. Okay, so what Perplexity does is it gives us the best options or the most reliable sources of data. So let's say you happen to go to Perplexity and you just type, what is digital journalism. It will give you the top 3 4 most reliable sources. So it will not simply give you the article that has the most SEO like content. Instead, it will give you articles from, let's say, academic journals or written by journalists or books. So that's what Perplexity does. So it helps us find out authentic information about processes and new terms and new phenomena that we may not know. It helps us in the research process. Then we have ChatGPT, which is, I am pretty sure all of you must have heard of by now because it's quite became very popular. So ChatGPT helps us not only with, let's say, finding out information, but it mostly helps us more with the writing phase. So if we know how to use AI in a very skilled manner, we can actually improve our writing. Not only that, we can also learn from ChatGPT itself. So we can ask them for better words for certain statements. We can ask them to make a certain article shorter. Maybe, for what you have written for X or Facebook might not look good on Instagram. So you ask, ChatGPT to make it shorter. So that's okay because you have done the collection authentically, you have done the recording of information authentically. You're simply asking it to make it short. Now, there is this huge aspect of whether it is ethically right to use ChatGPT to write your articles or not. I would say it's completely fine if you're using it for assistance. So, whatever technologies that we have, it should be used for only for our assistance. We should not completely depend on the technologies that we have around us. And lastly, the green logo that you see is that of Quillbot. So Quillbot is a much older, AI technology that has been there for quite some time now. It is mostly used by researchers, but now it is also being used by students at lower levels as well as journalists, of course. Then the multimedia storytelling aspect. So you see, we are using photographs, we're using videos, we are using text, GIS, and we are also using animation. So, sometimes we see news in the form of slides, right? We tap on it, we see the next slide, we tap another, we see the next slide again. So these information that we see in the form of slides are examples of very basic animation. Animation is also very, very commonly used right now in journalism. You will see many news apps giving out the highlights of the day or the top news of the day, the breaking news of the day in the form of slides instead of, let's say, big articles or long articles. Then we have social media, the very popular ones, be it X, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok. So these are not only platforms through which we reach out to audience. These have also become sources of news these days, which has both the negative and the positive aspects. But we should look at it as a source as well as a way of engaging with audience. So even if you are, let's say, you have written a very good article or you have done a very good job, but until and unless you actually put it out there in your social media handles or your organization's social media handles, the reach is always going to be limited because the kind of audiences we have on X might be very different from the audiences that we have on Instagram. So that's why we need to put out our articles and our work in social media as much as possible. Also, it's a great way to obtain instant feedback. So you instantly know whether something is being liked by people or disliked by people if you put them out on social media. So the fourth aspect is data journalism. Have any one of you heard or worked with data journalism?
No,
No? Anybody else? No? Okay.
no, ma'am.
Okay. So data journalism is basically, you skillfully analyze data to make your articles very rich in a way. So let's say you are simply saying that so and so country has the highest GDP. Okay. So now, but when let's say the World Economic Forum or the World Bank, they are releasing these data, right? They release these huge reports, long reports of information where they are talking about different aspects that affect the economy. They're talking about not only GDP, but there are many other markers of a good economy, and the report is very in-depth and detailed. So most of the time what happens is one particular probably media platform or a journalist will talk about one aspect and that itself is repeated in multiple news stories. But if we look into the data, we will get very different results and we'll get multiple perspectives of a particular issue. For instance, as an economy, it is not simply that our country has a high GDP, so our country is prospering. There are different other markers which also tell, for instance, per capita income. You might have a very high GDP, but what about the per capita income? That if the per capita income is low, it means most of your people are poor. As a country, you are rich because there are some very, very rich people in the country, but overall, your citizens are not doing well. So getting these kind of informations which are hidden in the big reports that these organizations release and putting them out there in the form of attractive graphs and pie charts and headlines. So you might have seen certain articles like where people say 1 in every 4 person is suffering from a mental disorder, for instance. Okay, so this is a data. 1 in 4 is a data, but the report, the medical association or the research which did this study will not bring it out saying 1 in every 4. They might have given certain very numeric data, and you have converted into 1 in 4 because you used certain technologies and certain software tools to find out the percentages, to find out the pie, the distribution of that particular data and make it sound more attractive. So instead of, let's say, saying 38,000 people out of 42 have tested positive for a mental disorder, you say 1 in every 4 suffers from mental disorder. It sounds much better. It sounds much more attractive. So in very simple language, that is data journalism. It's more common in digital media because we are using very colorful graphs. We are using a lot of attractive charts as well as tables to show these kind of data. So it is more, I would say, applicable in digital journalism. However, you will find instances of it also in print in the form of, let's say, headings and of 1 or 2 charts. But mostly in print, there is always crunch for space. So data journalism is more common in digital. Okay. And then the fifth one is podcast. You have all heard about podcasts, right? I assume all of you have heard about podcast. What is a podcast? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So podcast, it started as a audio medium, and it started as a very, I would say, like niche kind of a medium. So if anybody is interested in music, they will be listening to a music podcast. If they're interested in politics, they'll be listening to politics podcast. But now it has, if you have noticed, Spotify also has a video podcast element. So now it has become a lot more vast in its reach, and it's also, so these podcasters, they are inviting people from different genres, and they talk about anything that is current, that is currently happening. It might be about a riot, it might be about um, a political, like an election, it might be about some social issue. So they will invite these very well known, well established people, and they will try to put out the facts. So what podcasts, again, just like your social media, are not simply a way of telling or spreading the news, but also a source of news. So many times you will find these reputed or well respected people giving their opinions, and you can include those opinions in your articles, of course, with proper permission, and then go ahead with your own article. So people who you might not have known about, you will also get to know about those people by watching different podcasts or listening to different podcasts. And apart from that, obviously, the element of audio helps, because instead of reading or instead of watching something, you're simply listening to a particular information while doing your work or while moving about. So that element also helps. So now you're not only watching news, you're also listening to news when you're doing your day-to-day activities. Podcasts have actually created a very, very huge impact in the US elections this time. Also, definitely in the elections in India also it played a role, but in the US elections, the impact currently is also very, very high. So podcasters are gaining a lot of traffic to understand what is going on in the political scenario. People also like to believe the podcasters more than, let's say, an established mainstream media, because they feel they're biased or they're bought. So these are the kinds of narratives that are there, because of which podcast is gaining a lot of trust. Then we have citizen journalism. So now citizen journalism is something that became possible because of digital journalism. So before digital journalism, also there were many citizens who were writing for different newspapers. They were probably sending certain news materials to television journalists, but it was not, it did not explode to the level that we have right now. So citizen journalists are basically normal people who are doing the activities of a journalist, but using digital media platforms. So they are using these particular technologies like smartphones and your internet and YouTube platforms. They're using these technologies to give out information that otherwise maybe mainstream reporters will find it difficult to come across. So giving voice to the voiceless that we hear, I'm sure you might have heard this phrase. So they do a very good job in giving voice to the voiceless. So sometimes these communities themselves have someone acting like a citizen journalist, and they move on and um go and talk about the different issues that the particular community is facing. So it mostly helps when the journalist represents a minority community, a smaller community, who probably do not get as much footage or as much importance in the mainstream media. Okay, so this has also been possible because of digital technologies only. So I would like you all to take a small quiz before we move ahead. Is it possible for you all to scan this and just quickly uh, conduct a quiz? So
Yes, ma'am.
now, yeah. So the quiz will, some of these questions will have multiple correct answers. So you can choose either of them, and some have just one correct answer. So you can uh, go ahead. Is it opening? Is it working? Okay. Yes,
Ma'am,
definitely.
have you activated it? Like, because it says that please wait for the presenter to activate it.
Yes,
Just a second.
thank you. All right, I'm just sharing the link with everybody, okay? Just 1 minute.
Is it working now? Can you check it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Maybe give 2 minutes so that everyone can join this.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Just take your time.
I've shared link in the chat box. Please click that link. Miss Chinmoyee is just showing thumbs up sign, nothing more. Where
It's
we
not
should go
working.
next? No, it's just showing welcome to our quest and then thumbs up.
I think ma'am then will
There's no other option, Beta
and
Divya.
then
Is
welcome
it?
to our quiz. This should be on your screen.
It
If
is
that,
there.
yeah,
That's it?
that's
Okay,
yeah,
let's start. Let's start the quiz.
sure.
Okay, there we go.
It's coming now.
Yes.
Yes.
Should I follow with the next question, or is it going on its own?
There isn't any question yet.
What's just a second.
Now, I think now, get ready to play. That's what we are seeing.
To me here, it's showing. Just a second, okay.
It says press enter to start quiz.
Yeah, yeah. Is it happening now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So a major news event breaks. What's your first step? So, correct. So verify from multiple sources. Yes. Share with a disclaimer. These two options are correct. Post immediately on platform. So I see some of you have also selected that. So that's what I wanted to say, that even though we are doing journalism on a digital platform, we are still a journalist, right? So our very first important step that we should do, even before getting the news about something major, and we know that timeliness is a big factor, especially on online platforms. We should always verify from multiple sources. There are many instances where even a video is shown, and there is proof, there's video, but even then we should try to look into different sources, because many a times old videos circulate in suddenly and they go viral and they give different perspectives to the to maybe they relate it with a current event and they make it viral. So even in case of whatever evidence you may be getting, it is always expected to verify from multiple sources, and after that you can share it with a disclaimer. If you still feel that there is some doubt, sharing it with a disclaimer also works. Okay. So we'll move on to the next question. So a viral video of a protest has conflicting reports. How do you handle it? So you probably yourself have certain information, but now there is a video circulating which is very conflicting to your information. What do you do? Okay, great. So almost all of you are correct. So we investigate in the source and the context. So that's very, very important. We are not simply asking if the video is true or not. We are also asking on what context this video was taken, or to what context is this video significant. Ignore until confirmed by authorities. Well, it works. You can ignore for some time until you get a confirmation from the authorities. But you can wait for authorities confirmation, but you yourself have to make an effort to get that confirmation. We cannot ignore and sit on the problem. Okay, so waiting to confirm your by the authorities is correct, but we cannot ignore until then. Okay, we ourselves will have to do that. Okay, next. How to effectively counter fake news. Yes. We collaborate with fact checkers and we instantly publish a correction. So the first step is obviously we'll collaborate with fact checkers. So now that you have published it, you know somebody has already told you that it's fake. So you go ahead, you find the different fact checkers that can help you with this determining whether it is actually fake or not. And then you quickly publish a correction. So many a times what happens is you see the third option, the topic is avoided entirely. This happens a lot, especially in online journalistic platforms which do not have, let's say, a television counterpart or a print counterpart. They do this a lot. They simply publish multiple news after that particular fake news, and they try to kind of leave, let people forget that this happened. So they behave as if it never happened. Posting with a disclaimer, it's not correct here because, like the question says, how to effectively counter fake news. So it means you already know that it is fake. So you will not be posting it with a disclaimer now. Okay. So you post it with a disclaimer when there is sufficient amount of doubt in your mind that it might be fake. But once it's proven, you publish a correction very quickly. Okay. Next. A citizen journalist report on a disaster is trending. What do you do? Yes, cross-check with official sources. Correct. Share it as it is trending. Well, we don't do that because it's a citizen journalist after all. It's not one of our own journalists, and we are not talking with a trained journalist either. So it might be that, the citizen has done it so that it can benefit his or her community or his or her, the viewers or the listeners that he caters to. So that's why we always verify with official sources, especially since it's a disaster report. We can always ask the particular district government or the state government about whether or not this report is correct or not. Okay. Next. A hashtag spreads misinformation about a public figure. What is your move? Report and educate on the truth. It's not wrong. Most of you have, I've seen, selected the answer. It's not wrong. However, I would say retweet to engage and then clarify is a better option. Why it's better? Because already that tweet is spreading, right? So there is already a virality to that particular tweet. So when you retweet that tweet and then you talk about it, it means you're already catering to a very highly engaged tweet. It helps you gain that instant engagement, and everyone who actually saw that tweet will also end up seeing your retweet. That's a better method. Otherwise, reporting and educating on the truth will work, but anybody who does not follow, let's say, your online platform or is not following you on social media handles might not know that you have actually done this. All right. So retweeting is a better option. Yes, Fahid.
But
Yes,
ma'am,
yes.
there when a hashtag got like 1 million, so for that we're supposed to like retweet it or clarify it for each and everyone. So it's a little bit complicated. But I retweet to engage the clarify is okay. But the point is, ma'am, sometimes it's a little bit sophisticated and the complexity is a little bit high. So how we can handle this, ma'am? To retweet and everything gets trending. When it trends, it doesn't matter that it's the truth or it's right from right source or not. So, ma'am, for that, report and educate on the truth is okay, but ma'am, we should keep the priority for uh, retweet to engage then clarify. We should actually, I think, give a prioritize for the report and educate on the truth more than the retweet to engage and clarify, because it takes a lot of times, ma'am. Even nowadays, everyone use data analysts, those who are good in computer, and they are giving them a task to retweet. They are expert in this stuff, so they're giving a lot of tweets
Mhm.
and tweets. Specifically, let's give an example of the United States elections nowadays. Everyone is tweeting for Donald Trump's, and ma'am, I wish you could got my point, ma'am.
Mhm. No, so you're saying that when the number of like the virality of the tweet is massive, then retweeting each and every tweet is not possible. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to you got the point.
Yeah. So exactly, I understand. So what we are trying, so as a digital journalist or as a journalist who is associated with an organization, you will not be countering each and every person's tweet. Okay, so let's say a certain incident became viral, and it became viral because of a certain article or because of a certain post by a legitimate news organization or by a citizen journalist. You will only be retweeting that source. So I'm not saying that you'll be retweeting each and every tweet that was made about by every person about that tweet, but instead you'll be just targeting the source of misinformation from where it started. And you are not only retweeting that particular post, but you're also kind of telling them that this your post is wrong. This is the actual story. So it's not so let's say it might happen that the original post has, let's say, 1,000 retweets or 1,000 number of likes or engagement, but some very famous personality happened to retweet it, and that retweet instead had 1 million likes. But still, even then, you as a journalist will actually be countering the source. So we will not be going with each and every individual retweet and telling them that your retweet is wrong. Instead, we will only be tackling the source. So after that, once you have tackled the source, it is also the responsibility of the ones who retweeted that misinformation to kind of come and tell that it was a wrong information. And if not, people might also help them correct it. So what I would like to tell you is that your observation is very, very right. But as a journalist, it is not in the realm of our duty, or it is not kind of a part of our job where we go and correct each and every viral retweet. We will only be talking with the one who was actually the first person or the first organization to come and make that wrong retweet. So we will be only be tackling the source. Okay.
Ma'am, let's frankly speaking, what would you do, ma'am, instead as a journalist citizen? So would you gonna report and educate on the truth, or retweet to engage, then clarify? The point is, ma'am, everyone is not uh, like me and you, ma'am, those who have the ability to talk in front of camera. So it's a little bit complicated, ma'am. So as a journalist citizen, just let's give an example of you, ma'am. Would you gonna report and educate on the truth, or retweet or engage to clarify, ma'am?
No, see, the initial stage, I would still like to say this, that initially I would retweet so that I can retweet and quote the actual information. So by retweet to engage, what I mean is I will quote the tweet with the actual news information and also write that this particular information is wrong. But reporting and educating on the truth is also very important. But you do that on, let's say, your individual level or organizational level. So let's say there has been this particular viral news, which was later on identified to be fake news. You went ahead, you retweeted it, you quoted about it, and you did that part in your social media. But let's say an hour later, or maybe a few hours later, you write an actual uh, news report on how this particular fake news was spread, how many people have retweeted this fake news, and how it created a massive impact, in a span of 1 or 2 hours. You can go ahead and write a article or a news piece and educate the people on that truth as well. Or if you are somebody who has a digital video platform, you can also talk about it in your platforms. But at the very onset, I would say retweeting to engage is important, so that you at least identify that this is the tweet that was wrong, and this is the tweet that I am countering. So that part is important so that we can identify the source. But I agree with you, it is not always possible for everyone to do so, but it is advised that you do that first and then go ahead and make and report and educate on the truth. You definitely have to educate on the truth, because if you simply engage and tell this is wrong and this is what has happened, and you're not giving a context or a background, then it will kind of lack a little bit of credibility on your part as well. But I would still say that retweet first, so that sometimes what happens, if you don't retweet, the original poster will delete their tweet, and you will not be able to go and see that profile for the original tweet. So let's say if you had retweeted and actually quoted that particular tweet, it stays in your profile, at least the evidence that this particular Twitter handle or this particular Facebook page had at one point uh, posted this particular fake news. So it also helps with the authenticity bit of it. But yes, later on, you can definitely write a nice news article, talk about it, and then write probably even a lengthy discussion on the impact of fake news or the possibility of fake news disrupting narratives. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I
Okay.
got my point, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So we continue. I think we have just one more.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a fairly simple question. How can multimedia storytelling improve engagement? Yes, we combine text with visuals and audio. That's how we improve the engagement. Not shorten articles. Multimedia storytelling doesn't necessarily mean that we are shortening the articles. It means we are using multiple media formats to tell our story. So it makes it more engaging, and it also makes it much more inclusive for anyone who is unable to read a particular language can probably listen to the news piece, and anyone who is unable to listen can probably read it. So it also makes it much more inclusive. Okay. I think we have another question. Okay, we have another one. I'm sorry. Social media algorithms spread sensational, unverified stories. What's your approach? Again, a simple question. Yes, we investigate before reporting. Someone selected create similar sensational stories. Uh, yes, people do that. You're not wrong. But yes, the answer is we investigate before reporting. Report immediately for traffic. You can do that if you feel that whatever is being sensationalized is, something unethical. Maybe somebody is sharing a picture of a rape victim or an abuse victim, or sharing the names of perpetrators, which is not allowed. In that case, you can go and report on that as well. Otherwise, yes, investigating before reporting is the correct answer. We don't create similar sensational stories. We will try to first investigate before reporting. And if it is correct, let's say it's a fact, it's a true news, we can then obviously go on and create similar sensational stories. But that's not the first thing that we do. Last question. A viral YouTube opinion on a political event goes viral. How do you handle it? So it's a YouTube opinion. So this is one question where I would say almost all the options are doable. Okay, you can avoid it because it's just somebody's opinion. It's not, if the person, yes, it might have gone viral, but if let's say the person is not of a lot of public importance, you can avoid it, or you can share it with a neutral headline, very much. And you can also report the opinion as news. So you tell in the news piece itself that it is somebody's opinion. You don't present it like everybody's opinion, but somebody's opinion. But yes, the most appropriate thing to do would be to contextualize within the broader discourse. So you mention the opinion about this particular YouTuber and explain to people how it fits the broader discourse. So you give multiple perspectives, basically. That's what they're trying to say. You give multiple perspectives, and one of those perspectives can be about this viral YouTube opinion. All right. So that's all. I think we have come to the end of the discussion, end of the quiz. Right. That's it. Thank you. So any questions still here regarding the questions that we did with in the quiz? If you have anything to ask, are you able to see my presentation again?
Yes,
No, ma'am.
You're not able to see?
Welcome on the quiz. We are here.
Yeah, you're in that. Okay, just
Okay, ma'am.
now can you see? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was asking if there is any doubt in the anything you would like to ask about the quiz or any other doubt.
So far,
Anybody?
I'm not seeing any question in the chats, and nobody has raised hand. If hello everyone, please everyone, do leave your questions in chat, or please open your mics and you can ask directly to ma'am. Ma'am, should we? I think we should go ahead right now. I'm
Okay.
not seeing anything. So if there'll be a question, they'll reach out.
Okay. Thank you, Divya. So now we will get into how each of these aspects in digital journalism can actually help us, how we can utilize it. Okay. So like I said, AI is the best example for assisting in writing, providing definitions and descriptions of terms. Sometimes it may happen that you came to know about maybe it's a science and technology related article, okay, and or related news, and you heard about a term for the very first time. You can maybe, instead of referring to multiple books, or instead of finding people to explain you what it is about, you can take the help of AI at the initial stage. And you can also AI can also help you come up with creative ideas. So if you ask the prompt, if you prompt your question well, if you tell that, this is what I intend to do, this is the kind of impact I would like to create with my article, or this is the kind of audience I'm catering to, can you please help me with ideas for my writing? ChatGPT can actually guide you and tell you what kind of ideas might work for a certain kind of crowd or for a certain kind of platform. So at times definitely you can use AI for your inspiration. You can use AI to help you in writing with maybe sometimes you make your articles simpler for a general audience. Sometimes you can use it to make your article slightly complicated if you have a very specialized audience. Let's say you're catering to scientists and you're catering to professors. You can tell ChatGPT or any other AI tool that please write it in a more sophisticated manner, and they will do it. So these kind of assists can help your article sound more profound in a way. So this in no way is wrong, because you are the one who have gathered the information. You are also the one who have verified the information on your own. You're simply using AI to help you in writing that particular article. Now, what I would suggest journalists to not do is come and put all the raw material into the AI and tell them to write the article on their own, because that is something that students also are doing with their class assignments, with their home assignments these days. They're simply writing a prompt and asking the ChatGPT or asking any other AI quillbot to write the entire article for them. That's where the problem of not only ethics but also creativity comes in. So let's say if Divya and Wahid are both using the same AI to write about the same topic, their articles are going to sound quite similar. So you can do this exercise amongst yourself even. Let's say the three of you, you all decide to write an essay on the same topic, and you just give slightly different prompts to ChatGPT, but you'll see, you start reading and you'll realize a lot of repetitive words, similar words, and you will understand after a certain point in time that this is not a human written article, it is an AI written article. it really sounds bland. It sounds very, very ineffective. There is no personal touch. So that aspect about AI should also be kept in mind, that we use it to assist us, but we don't overuse it to the point that it kills our creativity. Okay. So as you can see in this, in the point, fourth point, that it can sometimes constrain our creativity. So we will, apart from being journalists, I think most of us also are into, some of you are into art, and some of us are also into writing. So we are not only writing news articles, right? We are also writing maybe about human interest articles, where you're talking about I think one of you also did climate based workshop. So these stories, they require a human touch. They require a part of your experience as a human being, a part of your experience as someone living probably in a in an area that has been affected by climate change. AI cannot do that. AI cannot help the article sound relatable. AI can only help you form sentences, and it looks very technical, and almost as if there is no what to say, like there is no relatability. You're unable to, you read 2 3 lines and you get bored. You should try this yourself. They have a very monotonous way of writing, which is reflected. We don't talk like that in our daily lives. So anybody who is, let's say you give an article to someone and you say you've written yourself, people will understand that this is not how she writes, or this is not how he writes, and this doesn't seem normal. So instead of doing all that, what we should do is we should write everything on our own, and then we should tell the AI to make it sound a little better, maybe, or make it shorten. That can be done. That much help should be taken, actually, especially if we are reporting for a very reputed organization. Is there a question in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So Atifa is asking, can we rely on ChatGPT to check our article to mirror our writing improvements?
Can we rely on ChatGPT to check our article? Yes, definitely. You can definitely do that. But again, I wouldn't, sorry, just a second. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that ChatGPT is the most, like trusted application or technology for this, because sometimes what happens, if you don't give it the actual prompt, like for instance, you have to say that you're using UK English or US English, or you are trying to write for a what kind of a crowd you're trying to write for. If you don't give these details, ChatGPT can sometimes also come up with a very bad response. I won't say like bad in the sense bad to read, especially from a journalistic point of view, but it's definitely, you can surely ask, give it commands like very technical commands, like make it shorter or make it more crisp, make the sentences more let's say you give some random bits of information that you had written down, and but you're not able to connect the two pieces of information. You can tell them, can you help me connect these two pieces of information? So yes, to that extent you can use ChatGPT, but not to the point where you can say measure. Not measure. It's not that if your article is more and more similar to ChatGPT, you're a better writer. No. So you cannot necessarily compare that, but it will definitely help you in improvement, because it will give you ideas about vocabulary. So sometimes you can tell ChatGPT, or you can ask ChatGPT that, can you please tell me what's the word for this? What's let's say you have a big statement, you want to convert it into fewer words. So ChatGPT will tell you, the shorter word, maybe a one word for a group of different words. Okay, so you kind of get your vocabularies better. You learn new words. Yes, Wahid.
Ma'am, it's actually not only ChatGPT. We have just, I think it's not just me, everyone in the first, like when the ChatGPT was like become
Yeah.
so trending, everyone was using. The point was, ma'am, it's not about ChatGPT. Ma'am, we have thousands or 2,000 different kind of other AI tools.
Yes,
It is
yes.
not like just ChatGPT. Ma'am, for writing stuff, for journalists, even they have created different kind of tools.
Hmm.
But the point is, it's a little bit premium, so we have to pay something. Like
Yeah.
recently, I have completed my research, so I was using ChatGPT and other tools just
Mhm.
only for frame. Ma'am, everything is
Yeah.
important for doing like journalist or. But the point is, ma'am, we have to make a frame for it. When we have a frame, I mean the infrastructure of each and everything, so it will
Mhm.
be a little bit easy for us. And absolutely, we're not supposed to rely that much on ChatGPT. I was like using the my specialization part was in finance, this stuff, man. I was checking the chat GPT and calculations and amortization. There are different kind of tables in finance related. So I was asking chat GPT, are you sure that this answer is correct? The
Yeah.
chat GPT was saying, I'm sorry for the mistake. He
Ah,
haven't even mentioned that I'm sure. He have checked, we are rechecking. And after
yeah.
rechecking, I saw that there was a difference.
Hmm.
ChatGPT was wrong, and then I
Yeah.
have paid $20. I have uh, I bought the ChatGPT 4. Then I
Hmm.
checked. Still, ChatGPT 4 even was has some misunderstandings. The most important thing in ChatGPT is the prompt. But the point is, ma'am, we have to not rely on the ChatGPT because ChatGPT is. Um, I have experience, ma'am. Just don't rely. That's it, and you will see
Right.
how it affects me.
Exactly. And it's also like you cannot rely on ChatGPT for the authenticity aspect. For instance, even if you are, for instance, in my research, I sometimes use ChatGPT for help. But if I ask ChatGPT that, can you please, just let's say write an article on this particular topic with sources, it gives me false sources. It doesn't, it gives me links to sources that does not exist. You go and open the link, there will be no article like that. So it also creates fake sources. Now I don't know if it's a issue with their algorithm or what exactly it is, but they definitely, there has been instances even in my experience where I have found ChatGPT to be wrong quite a few times. That's why I'm saying that even as a news journalist, the best practice that you can do is write all the information that you got on your own first. So write it in the best, in your best possible way, and then maybe you can, if at all you feel that your article, or maybe your editor told you that it's not up to par, or your editor told you you have written, you have exceeded like 250 words or so, then you go to ChatGPT and kind of ask them to make it the way that the editor wants, or make it the way that you would want. But you do not rely on ChatGPT at any point in time for new information. I think that's very, very, um, I would, to a certain point, I would call it dangerous, because if you use the information from ChatGPT, it presents to you almost as if like it's an authentic source. But if you go and recheck, it will give you names of authors, it will give you names of papers that do not exist. So we cannot trust ChatGPT in to give us very authentic information. It's mostly, it's not only wrong, but it also gives us curated information which is completely fake. So what they are saying might be true, but the sources that they're citing are mostly fake. So that's why I would say, instead of using ChatGPT to come up with something entirely, simply maybe just copy paste the article that you have written and ask them to make it more crisp or better sounding. Yes, Wahid, you wanted to say something?
Plus, ma'am, use the proper tool. I think we are supposed to use the ChatGPT. Nowadays, it's like everyone is addicted, ma'am. Everyone is getting lazy
Yeah.
day by day, unfortunately. But the
Hmm.
point is, ma'am, we have to use the proper tool. Like you have mentioned the perplexity something. Ma'am,
Perplexed.
my friends were using this one,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like. I said that I have the premium, so why I should use this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
ma'am, I saw the effect. There
Hmm.
was an effect. There was a lot of effects, man. Perplexity was getting a proper, man, links, and I was like surprised. I said that I paid, and but you guys are like having a
Yeah.
proper information.
They
But
give better
using the
information.
proper AI tool, ma'am. For writing, we have proper AI tool.
Yes.
But just
Yes.
try to use.
So I think
That's
this
it,
is
ma'am.
very, even what Maheen ma'am has said, that it is best to check grammar or align, keeping the originality and not give the complete responsibility to write it down for you. So that is very, very important. Also, if you, even if you work for an online digital journalism organization, after 2, 3 articles, they will realize that you are simply putting out something that has been created by an AI, and they'll probably not come back to you for your work because the originality is lacking. So to make a space for ourselves, we have to keep our creativity and originality alive. Each of our article is going to be different, even if we write it on the same topic. That difference is very, very important, so that we can make a position for ourselves in this, journalistic world. When we ask, I think Shukriya is asking something. When we ask AI to edit or make it better article, isn't it a falsity about our original article? Um, I think what you're trying to ask is that, is it unethically wrong to do that? Is that what you're trying to ask, Shukriya?
Yes, ma'am. She's trying
Okay.
to.
Yeah. So no, like I said, if you have collected the information authentically and you have yourself written the article down with all the important information and how you wanted it to sound like, and then you simply ask to make it a little better, it's not wrong. It's really it. And nowadays in research, I can talk about that since it is something that I'm currently doing. In research nowadays, what they have said is that since everybody, obviously, like Wahid said, is using some or the other AI, so now it is suggested that you give reference to the AI. So in your, in your article or in your thesis itself, you write that I have used the assistance of ChatGPT, or I have used the assistance of Perplexity in my thesis, and that makes your work ethically sound. So as long as you keep it transparent and you credit, it's completely fine. And you're not using, you're not writing anything that you don't know but ChatGPT has said. You're only writing things that you know and you're sure of. ChatGPT is simply making it sound better. So there is nothing, it's not unethical in any way. Sorry. So is that okay? Like I said, if you can see the last point, there's a potential to provide incorrect information. I've included that because we often come across fake information in AI. I think we have exceeded the time by, sorry. So a little bit about, Maheen, is it okay if I exceed the time a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. It's all right.
Okay.
You're loving it. Please carry on.
Okay. So now we see multimedia storytelling. It's quite simple. We use different formats of multimedia, which makes it more inclusive. By inclusive, what I was trying to say, even in giving the questioning during the quiz, is that anybody with, let's say, some physical handicap can also look into your article if there are multiple ways of exploring the article. Nowadays, you may have seen that at the end of the article, you get this line where you can tap on the play button and the website, the AI, it reads your entire article. So if you want, that can also be done. Other than that, obviously, it makes it inclusive for people who are unable to read. It makes it better if there's a video, if there's an audio podcast along with the video, it helps, and definitely more engaging. So if we are simply reading something, it's a lot less engaging as opposed to when all our senses, we are hearing, we're listening, we're also feeling at times, we're interacting. So that all of these together can improve your engagement. And also more and more people will come to your platform if you have different multimedia storytelling techniques instead of just one. Offers a greater scope. So greater scope meaning you reach to a much larger audience. But there are a few negatives. Demands higher skill levels. So this is something that the modern day journalists are facing also, because you're expected to learn to how to edit a video, you're expected to learn how to click a photograph in a very skillful manner. You're also expected to know how to write. So having all of these skills is quite challenging. And most of the journalism courses, are not designed in such a way that you will excel in each and every beat. You might be very good in writing, but you tried photography and you're unable to do it. So that kind of puts you in a back foot in situations like that. So I would advise, as well as I would ask you all, that even if you are maybe not into photography, you're not into videography, still learn the basics, because most of the time the higher news organizations, the bigger ones, they have teams which is doing this, the production bit. But for smaller news organizations, you as a journalist might be expected to edit the video as well as align the audio with the video and then send it along as a complete news package. So in such cases, it becomes very difficult for someone who is only skilled at one particular skill. So nowadays, that is something that most of our journalists are struggling with. Then there is faces tough competition. So we are facing a lot of competition from videographers. We're facing a lot of competition from photographers. Now that ChatGPT is writing an article, so maybe why not hire a videographer? That's how people are going to think, that the writing bit we can take care of, but let's hire someone who knows to make very good videos. So your competition is now not only with a fellow reporter, but you're also your competitors are also videographers and photographers who are probably doing a better job at something else as compared to you. So what matters is we know to write, yes, we know the basics of journalism well and good, but we must also improve our skills in videography and photography. It's very, very important. Maybe not get into too much, we don't need to create a movie, right? We simply need to create a journalistic video. So we don't have to be like super skilled, but at least the basics, we should all know it. And later on, obviously, the organization will also train us. So that's there. But knowing the basics will help you getting a job, better chances of getting a job as a journalist. So this is multimedia storytelling. Now, social media. I think this is something that we are all pretty much aware of. It helps us to share our content easily. We have a much broader audience reach and we get instant feedback. Public source information. This is what I was talking about. So it's Facebook and other social media are not just a way of spreading information, it's also a way of gathering information. So many a times it happens you upload a post or you upload a blog or an article and people in the comments will tell you what is happening in their area, what happened to them, and why it is so crucial that you did not report what's happening in our area. So it gives you new sources, places to visit to, people to talk to, and come up with newer stories. So that's very, very important. Shapes public opinion. So now that we are seeing, even with the US elections, these podcasters on YouTube and Spotify and all other different podcast platforms, they are a big part of this public opinion. They are creating a narrative. They are not only, so obviously they are giving you information, but through the information, they're shaping public opinion. What we also have, I'm not aware if all of you would know about this, but there is this theory of Habermas's public sphere. So where basically the public has a certain opinion and the one who is speaking, or the speaker, in this case the news organization, they try to cater to their public opinion. So what is happening is, so the moment we put something on social media, we realize that okay, this is what the public likes, and we try to keep reporting on that particular perspective only. So that is what is creating that started happening because of social media. It wasn't happening only because of websites and web pages and news apps. It started happening more because of social media. A lot of people would be like, would be disliking your article, will not be sharing your article because it doesn't fit their agenda or it doesn't fit their perspective. But when you write your article about a public opinion, when you write your article fitting the narrative of majority of the public, you get a lot more traction. So this is also the reason why journalism in social media at all points cannot be trusted. We should always look for other sources because we don't know, like in order to improve engagement, in order to get more likes, they tend to write things that only help in catering to the majority's opinion at max. It helps in building a brand image. So nowadays, you may have seen journalists have their own profiles, right? They have their own Twitter accounts, they have their own YouTube channels, they have their own Instagram accounts where they're coming with shorts and reels. It helps create a brand image. And many of these journalists later on, they branch out from the organizations and become citizen journalists because there is a lot more income in that sector. And also he or she has a public base or a public or a fan base of sorts where a lot of people follow them. So we have a lot of YouTubers nowadays who are doing this activity of, they build an image for themselves and then they keep catering to that particular audience.
And we have a question.
Yeah.
Madhya.
Based on your experience, which online platforms have been most effective for sharing your articles? How should a beginner choose where to start? Yes, Atifa. So what I am trying to say is, let's say you are, it depends, okay, what you're writing about. So let's say your article is text heavy. You are writing for an audience who is probably mature, a certain level, mature in the sense intellectually much more advanced. Maybe you're talking about science related issue. You're talking about climate issues. You're talking about health issues, or even if you're talking about technology, for instance. We have something called technical writing nowadays, where we simply talk about the latest technology that has come up. So your readership might be mostly located in X or other text-heavy platforms, which allow you to write a lot of text, as opposed to if you're writing something, maybe you are working as a product developer, or your work, so not the developer, but the one who curates the content for product descriptions and marketing, social media marketing, and your product has something to do with, let's say, skincare, or has something to do with home decor. In such cases, you will be relying on picture heavy platforms like Instagram, okay, probably even TikTok. But in case of journalism, we are mostly, what we do is, if it is text heavy, if it's the article that we want to share, we would probably share it in X or Instagram stories. But if we are trying to come up with slides, or let's say those posts where we can swipe and move on to the next post, so we create visual elements of those posts, then we go and go to picture heavy platforms like Instagram. But what you have to keep in mind is the audience of X is very different from the audience of Instagram. So are you talking about a celebrity? Are you talking about popular culture? Are you talking about LGBTQIA plus? Are you talking about maybe something, maybe the latest show on Netflix? What are you talking about? If you're talking about those kind of themes, go on Instagram. I would say most of your audience is there. But if you're talking about political turmoils, if you're talking about health related aspects, science related aspects, most of your audience will probably be on X and Facebook. So you have to first understand what kind of audience you're trying to cater to. Not every news is for every audience. For instance, somebody who is a political analyst and loves politics, is probably like 50 years and above, will not be interested in knowing what's the latest Netflix hit. They will probably not be interested. They would instead be more interested in learning about politics. So depending on what beat you are reporting on, depending on what audience you are catering to, you will choose your platform. But I would definitely say the more mature discussions, the more serious discussions, and the more, even sometimes the more sensationalized discussions are happening on X, whereas the more light-hearted discussions, the entertainment news, the lifestyle news, all of that is happening in Instagram and other photo-related or picture-related platforms. Does it answer your question, Tifa?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So yes, then a few negatives as well. There is high risk of misinformation spread, for sure. It enables real-time reporting. Now, real-time reporting, I have placed it below because it is both a negative and a positive. While obviously it helps you get real-time updates, it leads to a lot of, I would say, because you're so engaged in delivering the report fast, you kind of miss out on the authenticity of it. Many a times it happens that I have to be the first time, I have to update it quickly, and as a result you end up updating, giving real-time updates that are not probably very, very true. Because of this real-time aspect only, it becomes also very difficult to later find out what fake information it was spreading, because you probably went to that particular website and updated that information into something which was not fake. So it creates a little bit of a problem there as well. And it amplifies news virality. So you're obvious. So because if you put an article just in your website, it might not reach as many audience as opposed to if you put it up in the different social media handles. Okay. Not everyone is going and opening up the website of New York Times. Not everyone is opening up and going and checking the Guardian news app. But everyone is going to Facebook, everyone is going to Instagram, and everybody is definitely going to X and other platforms. So here is an example. So you can see these three. So first, when Elon Musk had taken over X, he said X is now an open source news platform, says Elon Musk. So what he was trying to say is we are not just, putting out news, we are actually becoming the source of news. And then we have a blogger who writes, can X become a trusted news source? So this it became a run-of-the-mill thing that now X is not just to give out your opinions, it is actually to find out news and find out what is happening around the world. And it's true that there's a lot of events in X that is reported in the social media platform, but it doesn't find space in the mainstream platform. So it is not a complete lie that X is definitely becoming a good news source these days. You get to know about news that will probably not make the mainstream media. But obviously there are, again, like I said, negatives and positives to every aspect. We're after all relying on social media, which anybody has access to. Anybody can go and edit their information. So there is that risk factor. Then there's another headline which says X is losing ground as a news source for report. So this is in June 2024. So it started as an open source platform. People were talking about it, and gradually in some, probably not all over the world, some people probably felt that it is losing ground. We will also talk about what Elon Musk did to solve that problem. I'd already talked about data journalism a little bit. So since I will try to, so here we come up with catchy headlines and phrases, like I said, where we say that 1 in every 4 is at risk of getting scammed, for instance. Instead of saying that so-and-so report said that 40% people have been scammed, instead of saying something like that, you say 1 in every 4 are at risk of getting scammed. Or you say, are you someone between the age of 14 to 18? Are you using TikTok? If yes, you are at risk of getting scammed. Automatically you'll go and open that article. It gives you it makes that article very, very relatable. So it's not like somebody is getting scammed. It might be that you might be the next person who is getting scammed. So writing these kind of headlines is not unethical, because you're not sensationalizing something that's untrue. Instead, you're presenting a very valid information in a very catchy headline or in a very catchy manner. So many a times it happens throughout the article. You will find these phrases in different color, in different font style. They highlight these datas so that the data can attract you to the article and help you read throughout the article. Okay. It gives a very analytical approach. So you're not simply reporting the article, you're also doing an analysis of your findings, which is one step. You go one step ahead of just being a reporter. You kind of also become a little bit a researcher. You do your own study. So mostly data journalism is something either you specialize in it or you are a very senior reporter who have read a lot of data reports like this and can understand. So most of the time, these people, they have good background in finance, good background in economics, or a background in political science to better understand these data. Enhances authenticity. So instead of simply saying, that depression is common in teenagers, you give them a number. Makes it more believable, makes it more authentic. Engaging visuals and charts, which I've already talked about. You represent the data in beautiful charts and colorful charts. Simplifies audience understanding. So the moment you say 1 in every 4, it becomes much easier for them to understand as opposed to giving large numbers. Okay. But yes, there's a potential bias in data interpretation. So what this means is sometimes you yourself might be biased towards certain aspects of the data, and you might not put in that data. So if you don't put the data into the system will not give you the proper results. So the bias can be personal bias that might come at the very initial stage, but it is very rare. Requires specialized skills and tools. This is one of the limitations. You need to have certain idea about data, like data analyst tools. All right. Risk of misrepresentation. Sometimes you might end up understanding the data in a wrong manner, which might lead to misrepresentation. Okay, but that's again very rare. So if you see the logos, we have the very first, the blue one is Chartbeat. It is basically a program that helps you convert your data into attractive charts and pie charts. It also gives you a lot of numbers that you can understand. Google Analytics gives, we all know Google Analytics. It helps us understand which website is most visited, what is trending, which keyword is trending, how many times our website has been visited, and things like that. The W that you see, that is NewsWhip. It's another data journalism tool. So NewsWhip is very much only focused on news. They tell you which news is trending right now, which news is getting a lot of engagement, in which platform it is getting an engagement. So is it getting a very high engagement on Twitter, or is it getting a very high engagement on Google, or very high engagement on Facebook? It also gives you those kinds of information. And lastly, we have the green, the leaf thing. It's called Parsley. So what this one tells you is it gives you an idea, a data about your website visits. So let's say you have your own website, your news organization has their own website. It tells you how many people have completely read the article, how many people have clicked on the headline and how many people have actually read through, how many people have visited and then left, gives you all those kinds of information. So it gives more of an audience analysis kind of a data. Okay. So this is an example of data visualization. So you see the one on the left, it's talking about the happiness index. Again, we should not only rely on happiness index. Okay, these are data that are kind of don't take into aspects everything about that country. So whatever aspects they do take into the country, you see how attractively they have placed the data, right? It gives you the impression that you've read the article without even reading it. You know that India is in 126, you know that India is not that happy. You probably get a idea of who topped, which are the countries above India, and a very nice use of this soft drink cans to show. So this makes your data more attractive, and the audience also feels like reading it. The one on the right, you see it shows about how proportion that used each network for news. So in Facebook, in Philippines, a lot of people were using Facebook as a source of news, as opposed much lesser in Colombia, much lesser in Malaysia, Turkey, the least. So it's showing how many people in these, not people, but how many of which country is using Facebook as news source to what point. And the negative that you see, -11, -10, is showing that there has been a decline from the past. So it gives an idea. And if you see it, the TikTok, it has increased. So all the values are in plus. So it gives you these random information in a very attractive manner. Okay. Then we already talked about podcasts, but yes, a little bit about the challenges here. So in podcasts now, it's not enough for you to be a good writer. You also have to be someone with a very good diction, someone who knows to deliver well, someone who has good speaking skills, and someone who has a good voice as well. So there is now multiple points of challenges. Might face discoverability challenges initially. That's normal. Requires consistent content production. Yes, this is something true, because there are tons of podcast channels now. So you need to be producing consistently. That's what the algorithm promotes. The more consistent you post, the more people are most likely going to see what you have been doing. Listener retention can be difficult. How many of us have listened to 5 minutes of the podcast and then changed to another, right? So why will we listen to a particular podcast? That retention itself is very, very challenging. So just that much. Citizen journalism. There are some benefits of citizen journalism, since the people from within the communities are themselves doing the journalistic activities. They have a large network of sources. So they are themselves living in the community. They have a lot of sources within the community, and they can get you the, I won't say the most effective content, but they can get you relatable content. So the reason why citizen journalists are more popular opposed to other regular journalists is because the way they produce the content is very relatable. They are not sticking to very hard and fast rules. They are not sticking to only one type of delivery. They're talking in very layman language and putting it up in front of you as if you and I are very same. I'm a part of your community. So please, so that relatability is there, which is why. But then there is also a reduced threat of censorship. It's difficult for the government to censor these citizen journalists, because they're normal people. They have rights, right? And they're also not guarded by those ethical dilemmas that a journalist might be limited to. But there's a high risk of personal bias. So since I am from the community itself, I might take my personal experiences on screen, and I might make it sound like legitimate news. And people who relate to me will surely like it, but people who do not will realize that I am being biased. So personal bias does come out at the later part of your career, even if it doesn't come out initially. So personal bias is very much there. It lacks journalistic rigor, which means the verifying of facts, the sticking to ethics, the part where we write a balanced article, we talk about every perspective. These kind of things are not kept in mind by citizen journalists most of the time. Can spread misinformation. So it's not saying fake news, but misinformation. Sometimes the information might be very, very biased to what I would like like, if my community is facing something, I would like to talk more about it and probably add a little bit of spice into it and make it sound more, consumable. Challenging to start. So starting out as a citizen journalist is challenging because why will people watch you? Who are you, right? So setting up that foundation is tough and might lack credibility. So you cannot simply, like, there was one of the questions as well about the disaster question that we talked about. So it might be that a citizen journalist has posted something, but we cannot take his word as we would take maybe that of another professional journalist, right? So that's it. So fake news and digital journalism are very, very closely related. They go hand in hand. The quicker the information, the more the risk of getting misinformation, fake information. So there was this article in 2020 that said Facebook spreads fake news faster than any other social website, according to new research, and it was published by Forbes. Then the spread of fake news later on became quite, in my country, if I am supposed to talk about, it became very rampant on WhatsApp. So there were these WhatsApp groups where viral videos are circulated and maybe there are videos of riots or videos of protests that were taken in the past and are now being made viral so that people fight amongst themselves or to create a bad narrative, basically. So WhatsApp also became a victim to that. In India, the Press Information Bureau, they have a fact check unit. Okay, so they have a toll-free number to which you can send any link of a news or a video or a photograph and ask them whether this is fake or not, and they will get back to you. Okay, so that's one. Many Indians are unaware of this, but it's something we should put into our lives, so that I'm pretty sure many countries will have a mechanism of their own. Then obviously we can also use AI, right? So 13 AI powered tools for fighting fake news. So there's also the availability of AI, which will help you find out whether or not this particular video is doctored or this video is manipulated or this photograph has been manipulated. It will tell you that. Now, like I said, Elon Musk's X introduces community notes feature. Okay, so what is community notes? So after Elon Musk releases X, he realized that there was a lot of spread of misinformation. Okay, so he came up with this feature of community notes. So now community notes is not something that will counter fake news, but it will put out multiple perspectives. So what people do is, let's say you report something fake, people below will tell you this is fake, this is what actually happened. It happened in my area, so I know it. And then they're talking, and then somebody else responds to that particular community note. So it goes on, it creates a cycle which helps you not only understand that this is fake, but also actually find out multiple perspectives to a particular issue. So many a times, if it's a fake news, you will see it's a more one-sided news. It's probably about one community or one party. But the moment you move into the community notes, you will get different perspectives about the same issue, which is very helpful for a journalist to say. And also it gives a lot of credibility to that particular post. So it's not like this is fake news, so I'll remove it. But instead, it's giving you an opportunity to counter that fake news with your own narrative, with your own perspective and experiences. So it makes the discussion very, very rich. So later on, after the discussion, if it is found to be fake, obviously everybody is aware of it. Many a times the people also put down their post or apologize. So that now it's not like you're reporting an issue to X and they are looking into it and they're deciding to, no, it's given, the power is given to the audience. If it's fake, show me the true news and I will take action. So it's a much more democratic way of looking at fake news. So I would say it's a welcome initiative from X's side. So I'm almost at the end. I would just like to play this video, okay? Just let me know if it is playing. Just a second. Can you hear?
No, we can't.
You can? You can
No,
hear?
we can see, but we cannot hear it.
Yeah.
Not hear it.
Okay, you need to share the screen again, Miss Chinmoyee.
Yeah.
And you have to share sound as well. When you share the
Uh,
screen, share the sound as well. You have to do it again. Share the screen again,
Oh,
please.
okay.
Yeah. When you'll be sharing the screen, you will see on the side Option number 1, share the sound of the
Share
system.
sound.
Yeah, this one. Thank you.
Mark Twain
We
that
can hear
goes,
it.
there's a quote usually attributed to the writer Mark Twain that goes, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes." Funny thing about that, there's reason to doubt that Mark Twain ever said this at all, thus, ironically, proving the point. And today, the quote, whoever said it, is truer than ever before. In previous or a phenomenon known as circular reporting. This is when publication A publishes misinformation, publication B reprints it, and publication A then cites B as the source for the information. It's also considered a form of circular reporting when multiple publications report on the same initial piece of false information, which then appears to another author as having been verified by multiple sources. For instance, the 1998 publication of a single pseudoscientific paper arguing that routine vaccination of children causes autism inspired an entire anti-vaccination movement, despite the fact that the original paper has repeatedly been discredited by the scientific community. Deliberately unvaccinated children are now contracting contagious diseases that had been virtually eradicated in the United States, with some infections proving fatal. In a slightly less dire example, satirical articles that are formatted to resemble real ones can also be picked up by outlets not in on the joke. For example, a joke article in the reputable British Medical Journal entitled "Energy Expenditure in Adolescents Playing New Generation Computer Games" has been referenced in serious science publications over 400 times. User-generated content, such as wikis, are also a common contributor to circular reporting. As more writers come to rely on such pages for quick information, an unverified fact in a wiki page can make its way into a published article that may later be added as a citation for the very same wiki information, making it much harder to debunk. Recent advances in communication technology have had immeasurable benefits in breaking down the barriers between information and people. But our desire for quick answers may overpower the desire to be certain of their validity. And when this bias can be multiplied by billions of people around the world nearly instantaneously, more caution is in order. Avoiding sensationalist media, searching for criticisms of suspicious information, and tracing the original source of a report can help slow down a lie, giving the truth more time to put on its shoes.
Right. So with this, we've come to the end of a very long presentation. I'm so sure I took a lot of time.
It's fine.
So any questions? Anything? Is there anything in the chat box?
Not yet. Okay, we are waiting for 5 to 10 seconds. If you have any question, please open your mics or raise your hands. Or if you are having mic issues, please leave your comments in chat so we can read it out and ma'am can answer that.
Chinmoyee, I really like one thing that you added. I also persuade my students, and you said it, you made my heart, so happy that now it's a must to know exactly how to be present in front of screen. Now time has changed, so you must, even it's uncomfortable for you, you need to make yourself, adjustable to present
Yes.
yourself in front of screen. It's very important for success, not just journalism, in every single field. So
Exactly.
the way you have guided them to know a bit about how to generate content, present content, and also show up not towards editing and how to manage your content to express what you're trying to deliver is very important now. And I
Yes.
also observed, Chinmoy, around me that people are trying to hire only those individuals who are diversified in their skills, who can
Exactly.
present themselves more. Else,
Yes.
they are not being accepted. This is the brutal
Mhm.
truth.
Yeah.
So Chinmoy, I would really appreciate if you can give them some guidance. What are the common tools in journalism that they must consider practicing it in their free time? So that would be great help for them.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So now, because of the fact that digital journalism is something that is, I won't say it is replacing traditional journalism, it is where most of the jobs are. So if you need a job in journalism sector, you will be needing to know how to use social media to the best ability. So nowadays, what happens in most of the organizations, the moment you apply, the moment they see your application, they will also see your name, try to find your name on social media. They will see whether you know what kind of posts you are making, what kind of how content you have. So that social media presence is also very, very crucial. So depending, if you want a nice professional job profile, you should have a very good established LinkedIn profile. It's very, very important. So if any of you do not have a LinkedIn profile as yet, you should make one. And not only just having the profile, but also interacting to people using that profile, connecting to senior journalists, following uh, news organizations, looking, because you will also get to know about the vacancies in LinkedIn. You'll also get to know about the vacancies that these organizations are providing. So a very good professional platform is important. If you are someone who is interested in animation, or you do animation, as a hobby, or you do videography as a hobby, or photography, have a professional profile for everything. Even if you are a good writer, let's say you are not you're not someone who is engaged in a news organization yet, but you have been writing poems, you have been writing articles, please put it up in your social media handles, because people will look into it. And the reason I keep saying professional is because you might have a personal handle, that's not a problem, but keep the professional public, so that more and more people can come and see your work. Because it is a practice that companies are doing now. It's quite an open secret. They come and they look into your profile. So I think that's the most basic we can do. Even if you're a good artist, you can put it up out there. Let's say you sketch or you do digital art, please put it up there, because all of these things are taken into account when somebody is hiring you. And next, I would say nowadays blogs are something that any one of us can start, right? So not all blogs are are need to be paid. You can have your own blog, free ones, where you can put up your articles, you can write about social issues, you can write about burning topics. Please continue to write, because don't keep waiting that I will get a job and they will tell me what to do and then I will finally start writing. Don't do that, because writing is something that you'll only improve with time, and you will read multiple things while actually coming up with a write up. So it builds your knowledge, and that's very, very important. You never know what the person might ask you in the interview, and something you read some days ago for writing an article will be very, very helpful to you. So please continue to write. Even if you become a news reporter or an anchor, most of the time what happens is you will start as a copywriter. So writing is expected at every stage in journalism, be it a digital journalist, be it a television journalist, radio journalist. Even if you become an RJ, you'll be first expected to write copies before actually going and lending your voice. So these writing practice should always be there, be it in social media, be it in your blogs, wherever you can find the time. And then a basic, you can take any free software that will help you understand basic video editing. So there are quite a few. There are, Instagram themselves lets you edit videos, there is Vimeo. So there are quite a few free platforms. In fact, you can also have your YouTube channel where you can try to put out these videos, and see how let's say in a month or two, you will realize that this is what sells, this is what does not sell, this is what I was supposed to do, this is where I did wrong. Simple things like overlaying text over a video, or making an animated slideshow. These are little things that you can learn. And for this, free courses are available on YouTube, actually. You don't even need to go and look into Coursera or things like that. It's available on YouTube. Adobe Photoshop is openly available. The tutorials are available on YouTube. Just the basics. I won't say you need to become an expert level, because that also requires you to have the subscription. But at least the basic level of video editing. Photography is something you can practice, but writing and photography needs practice. But video editing is something where most of us, I think, struggle with, because it's not, if we are someone, I think Wahid was the one who said, like, what if we are not someone who is comfortable in presenting ourselves on screen? So in such cases, make videos of other things. You don't necessarily need to put yourself out there. You can make other videos, you can make informative videos, you can make textual videos. Learn these things, because it really helps. So there is this news aggregator app in India called InShorts. Okay, so Shorts, when they were creating their recruitment drive, one of the questions in the test was to make overlay text over videos and make that animated news. That was one of the tasks. Once you were done with one or two interviews, that was one of the final tasks. So they look for these kind of things, and at that moment, if you will struggle, it's better that we are prepared beforehand. So a little bit of basic video editing, definitely a lot of writing skills, speaking skills if you can, and a good professional social media profile, I would say, is very, very crucial for entering into the market. Then you can add on to it.
Okay, so we have no more questions. So as we have reached the ending of the session, thank you all for joining today for an insightful webinar on digital journalism, navigating the new media landscape. Special thanks to Ms. Chinmoyee, who is PhD scholar at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. She co-founded Nature Speaks, a newsletter about nature. She has done her MA in mass communication and journalism. Her expertise lies in new editing, content writing, and effective communication. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your expertise and guiding us. We loved your session. We hope this webinar has equipped participants with the skills and knowledge to effectively navigate the ever-evolving digital media landscape, leveraging the latest tools and technologies to produce engaging and impactful journalistic content. For those who are looking to deepen their skills, we encourage you to explore our Entrepreneursecole skill development journalism program. This 16-week hands-on training courses offered an immersive experience with guest speakers, your journalistic abilities, and networking with professionals across the globe. Ma'am, we look forward to connect with you and to see you in our future events. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Chinmoyee. Thank you so much for your precious time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Divya. Thank you, Maheen. Thanks a lot.